There you go. You're good to go.
Okay, at 6:30. Calling the meeting to order. This is the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities. And it is the Monday, July 18th, 2022 meeting. And it's held in council chambers. All council is present. And Mr. Packwood from the advisory committee is also here as well. Thank you all. And our staff is only short Mr. Grant, our CAO. The rest of the office staff is present and accounted for. Thank you. Okay, just before I ask for an approval of the agenda, I'm just going to point out on the paper copies, there was a problem with sections 7B and 7C. They were reversed in the on the agenda. However, we do have a new agenda now that does correct that. So we will be proceeding with the new agenda. All right, could I have a mover for approval of the agenda as presented, please? Mr. Packwood with a seconder. Councillor Hunter, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried. Thank you. That brings us now to number 3, which is the disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Do we have any interest here tonight? Hearing none, thank you. We'll move on. Now, business arising from the previous Committee of the Whole minutes, if any. I'll start with Mr. Packwood to my right.
Nope.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter. Deputy Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
2.
Go ahead, please.
Page 4 of 38. At the bottom, last paragraph, I think it is, refers to the pickleball program, which I think we're still holding at the Spencerville Arena. I'm just wondering if we have any update on participation at this point through the chair, if I may. We did get an earlier turnout. I think it said in these minutes 18 to 25. I'm just wondering if we're maintaining that kind of a usage.
Through the chair to the last 2 weeks, the numbers have been down a little bit lower than that. Last week there was only 15 that used it over the course of the 3 nights.
15 total over the 3 nights?
That is correct, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And now the second question is on page 6 of 38. And on page 6 of 38, there was a motion that was moved and seconded and carried concerning Hands Road. Direct staff to reduce the speed limit on Hands Road to 40 kilometers an hour. And I can't remember whether we did that at the council meeting at the end of the month. Install signage, install pedestrian crossing signs, create a pedestrian crossing by delineating an area with painted hash marks in the road surface, installing speed bumps, and then clear roadside brush. And so through the chair, I'd just like to know if all of those tasks have been accomplished, Mr. Chair.
And who are you directing? You, Mr. Shaw, thank you.
Through the chair, Mayor. So they started the brush side clearing, and I believe that's complete. We just got the last 2 signs in today. And the work order's been put in to install the signs and put in the crosswalk.
Okay, so the signage are speed signs?
There's, yes, 40 kilometer-hour speed signs. There is a speed bump ahead sign, and there is a bump sign placed right at the speed bumps. And the speed bumps are also open.
Okay, now, Mr. Chair, I missed that meeting, and one of the things that the delegation from HFI made to us was signage referring to you are entering an explosion area or an explosive area. Was that part of the signage that was to be erected?
Through the chair to the mayor, no, it wasn't part of the package. I had further discussion with their director of safety, that was something that they had thought may be appropriate for our area, but not necessarily because of other areas with similar type conditions.
So did they, through the chair, did they provide the wordings? Or are they saying don't bother with that concept right now?
Basically said don't bother with that concept right now.
Oh,
It's not required for that site.
okay.
It was something that they assumed that would be possibly required, but it is not at this point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Mr. Dilaba?
By me.
Nothing? Okay, and I have nothing, so we will move on, and that will bring us now to the delegations and presentations, and we have none here tonight. We have no discussion items for tonight, so we're now at number 7, which is the action and information items, and the 7A will be the second quarter fire report. And Chief Moore, would you highlight your report for council, please?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under our call totals for the month, we had a fairly uneventful second quarter with only 36 incidents. Under updates and changes, Ed Bruce retired with 52 years of service. Under meetings, we had our first planning meeting for hosting next year's Eastern Ontario Firefighters Association Convention. Under training, we spent a day at the Boneyard doing extrication training. Fire prevention activity, Public Works and Recreation employees receive fire extinguisher training. General activity, we were represented at a firefighter appreciation event at a retirement residence in North Grenville. That was alongside North Grenville and Merrickville personnel. Last but not least, of the burn permits, there were 393 permits created in the second quarter with permit revenue of $4,130. Provided on the last page an updated fire department roster as of the end of June.
Questions are for Chief Moore?
Through the chair, are farmers exempt from buying burn permits?
Through the chair, they are not.
Thank you, because 2 of them told me that they're not, they don't have to buy burn permits.
I didn't hear that, Mr. Backlund, sorry.
I've had 2 farmers tell me they don't have to have burn permits to exempt.
So, Mr. Chair, clearly that is not the case. The bylaw is clear, is it not? Bylaw is clear, so I would suggest that if you know of such cases, that you refer them to staff, and staff will investigate and make sure that those folks know that they're not exempt.
I already told them they were.
Sometimes it's better coming from staff. It's a letter, sometimes even a registered letter.
Correct.
Other questions, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I have several. So first of all, Chief, thank you very much for your report. So on page 2 of 5 of your report, under meetings attended, there was a meeting of the Leeds and Grenville Chiefs. And I guess my question was this, is our concern about doing unpaid calls on 401, 416, in other words, 4-lane highways, is our concern gaining any traction with any of the chiefs in not only this region, but other regions of Ontario? I think there was a county fire prevention meeting as well. And I know you're attending these meetings all the time. I'm just interested to know whether this topic is ever discussed or brought up or getting any traction.
Through the chair, locally it's fairly quiet, but it is a priority for the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. And it is on one of their in process works in progress, I guess, for lack of a better.
reason I'm asking is because the AMO convention is coming up in August. I don't think that we, and I can't remember what ministry we submit our claims to. What ministry? do that?
Department of Transport.
So maybe it's to the chair, to the treasurer. Is it Ministry of Transportation that gets the claims? The invoices?
Ministry of Transport, but MTO is actually the one we make claim to, yes.
Yeah, but that's where the invoices go.
Correct.
So that would be the minister that we would be looking to talk to. It's too late for delegations now, but sometimes you get a chance to do some lobbying at the sides, on the sidelines. So that was one question, Mr. Chair. Now, if I can go on, please. Okay, so then Chief, going down to the section on training courses attended. There was a comment here about training session, 3 training sessions were completed at the house on Glen Smale Road, which included accountability, entry control, review of zones, etc. Was that one of the abandoned houses on Glen Smale Road? And I'm just curious who the homeowner was or the house owner of their property was.
Certainly, through the chair, that house is on HFI property, and it's been abandoned for some time now.
Oh, it's that house. Okay, I know the house you mean then. Okay, I was thinking of a different place. And obviously HFI were aware and given us permission. Okay, and I think, oh yes. So another question then, Mr. Chair. So through the chair to the treasurer. So I see that year-to-date burn permit fee revenue is about $10,430. Are we just taking that into the general operating account? Or have we set up any sort of reserve account to hold that money for larger purchases? I can't remember how we decided to handle it.
Through the chair, this money will come in through revenue, we recognize this revenue within the fire department. There has been no direction to take any of this money specific to allocate it to something. We are over the estimated budget amount. We had estimated only $5,000 in revenue, so we had far exceeded that in short term. So but we have no direction to put that in a specific.
Okay, so it's just extra revenue available for spending within their department. Okay, thanks very much. And those are my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Willoughby,
Good, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, did you have anything? Councilor Hunter? Okay, Mr. Packwood, you have nothing further. Thank you, Chief Moore, for your report. And that brings us now to 7B, which is the second quarter facilities maintenance report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Second quarter maintenance report for the 3-month period indicates the work orders, some of the work orders that were given for a variety of our facilities. Nothing really major sticks out. We did have a compressor 1 top end overhaul, basically, which is a short term for an oil change on compressor 1. Just routine maintenance, not as a result of any issues that were red flagged by Simcoe. Town hall generator inspection and maintenance, again, just routine maintenance, no issues to report. Then below on page 2 is just a list of some of the service requests for a variety of different work projects that staff have undertaken over and above just their normal everyday operations. Take any questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spencer, and I'll start with Councilor Dillabaugh at his end.
No, I'm fine. I just, I guess bring up that our canteen, washrooms and Cardinal, I go down quite regularly and pass it on. Your staff's doing an excellent job on that, especially for young, our younger workers that have summer jobs. They really are taking it. Very proud of them, the way they're taking their actions. So thank you so much on that. That's all.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any questions or concerns?
Yeah, through the chair, and I don't know whether the question would go to Mr. Spencer or Mr. Shaw. But I'm looking at this list of things and appreciating the way that there's a lot of cleanup and trimming being done in various places. And my question concerns the transfer station at the corner of Scott Road and Blair Road. So that transfer station is fenced all around. But over the years, there's a lot of brush growing up close to the fence and close proximity to the fence. Vines climbing on the fence. And I know from my own experience that once the vines start, they have a tendency to pull the fence down, weaken the whole structure. And I'm just wondering, who would be responsible for clearing the area, a foot or so on either side of the fence in order to prolong the fence life? Would that fall within Mr. Shaw's bailiwick or within Mr. Spencer's bailiwick?
To the chair of the mayor, that would probably be Public Works, where we have to be careful about removing vegetation inside, because some of that was actually planted in order to revegetate the mound and to provide structure to prevent any kind of landsliding and erosion on the mound itself. On the outside, last year or the year before, we went around and cleaned a bunch of vines off and trimmed all the sumac that was coming through the fence and in the ditch side.
Well, my concern is the maintenance of the fence, and while I can see the necessity to have some vegetation on the outside of the slope, I don't think that extends to allowing the vegetation to degrade the fence. So I'm just wondering when we might go back at that again and do a better cleanup on either side of the fence.
Through the chair,
So in order to preserve the fencing, of course, that's the point. It's expensive.
through the chair, we can certainly go back and look at it again. But it's kind of a tricky spot on the inside also because of the slope to for safety wise, but we'll definitely go and have a look at it again and see what we can do with that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hunter.
Just very on Mayor's point there, with cleaning the fence up, have we ever, through our operations director, have we ever just considered going in and spraying those vines? Put a Roundup on them, takes care of the big vines pretty quick.
Through the chair, yeah, I'm not sure on that scale if we need a permit to do it or somebody, a contractor to spray with that much area and how it would affect being in the CAZ zone.
Contaminant, it kills our contacts, so. And do it anyway, see, that's the way that, I just finished taking 50 rods of grapevines down, and I'll tell you, it's long, tedious. So,
Through the chair, if I can get back in, I'd just like to
Yes, go ahead.
endorse Councillor Hunter's comment there, because there are contractors that would gladly, spray that fence line all the way around, and it would make a major difference. Especially with Roundup, clean it right up and preserve our fence.
qualification there, I'm sure. Ministry, they could probably tell you where you can do it. Allow us to put it a lot quicker way. Clean the grapevine, see that's sure we're not cut down. Grapevines are the one that do most of the damage. So.
Through the chair, I can actually get hold of JP2G, they do all the testing and stuff around it, I'm sure.
Mr. Packwood. I think if you'll just bear with me, I have a few questions. On page, it's actually page 14, under Spencerville Arena, I see there was a great truck required a starter. My question is not about the repairs or anything, it's just, is that truck assigned to the Spencerville Arena, or is it just in the fleet mix?
That is one of the rec trucks, one of the 4 trucks that I have on the road right now. It is stationed at Spencerville right now, but it doesn't always. It's not always stationed at Spencerville, but it is at this present time.
Okay, thank you. That answers that question. The next one is is on page 15, and it's service report 2457, repair broken downspout at the Cardinal Library. Could I have the reason for the repair? Was it a natural break or was it vandalism?
That was a natural burn. There was no vandalism.
Okay, thank you. And on the same page, SR 2431, repaint the tennis courts at the South Center. Are those the tennis courts that we're going to be tearing up?
That is correct.
Okay, and so we have no idea at this point when they're going to be torn up.
That is correct.
Thank you. And the last one is on SR 2388, removal of 30 boxes of books for recycling from the Spencerville Library. My question really is, where are these books recycled?
We put them in the recycle bin. And it's picked up at the public works branch.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. And that's all the questions that I have. I'll just look around. Are there any more questions or concerns that have arisen? If not, thank you, Mr. Spencer, for that report.
No problem at all.
And that leads us into then the next report, and that is the second quarter's facility stats 2020 report update. And Mr. Spencer, that's your department one more time.
Yes, it is. Thank you again, Mr. Chair. So it's a 2-page or a 4-page report for the April to June calendar time span. Just indicating the minor ball started up in May. The Johnstown program is running very well this year. Mike Lindbergh runs the program there and has 5 teams that are playing out of Johnstown. Cardinal minor ball did not run this year, but I have spoken to a couple of people in the Cardinal area, and there might be some interest next year to put a team or 2 in for league next year. So we'll keep up on top of that. Spring ice rentals were a little lower than anticipated. For April, we took the ice out for May. Typically, when spring rentals are contracted, it's January, February, and the people that typically rent those ice times during that time period, we're not wanting to put any type of commitment into doing registrations and that because of January. In January, COVID had shut everything down, so that's why the numbers were a little bit lower. Just also indicating that Leeds Gravel Health Unit continue to operate their 1-day clinic each month. They had, the last one was just this past, I know it's July, but they just had it this past Friday. And it was a full house, and they had, I believe it was, when I left at 4 o'clock, they had 25 walk-ins as well. So successful clinic again for that. The bulk of them are getting the 3rd and the 4th. There were a lot of kids there as well though, on Friday. So the health unit was very pleased with the numbers. 4 o'clock. So, and then page 2, 3, and 4 is just a breakdown. You'll see the meeting rooms are starting to get utilized a little bit more. Again, things are starting to open up more. People are getting out and doing a little bit more activity. The picnic pavilion is also being utilized a little bit in May and June, and has quite a few rentals coming up for July. And then I just indicate the diamond usage. Johnstown, as I indicated, have the 5 teams that are operating out of there on 4 nights a week on average. Out here in Spencerville, we have the mixed recreational slow pitch league that plays on Thursday nights. And they play 4 games every Thursday night at the front diamond. If you have a question, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Spencer, and I'll start with Mr. Packwoods into the table.
No, good report, sir.
Councillor Hunter.
Just for you, Mr. Spencer, you refer to the front diamond here. What about the back diamond there? I noticed there are a lot of U9 and U12 kids playing down there. Do you not have nothing to do with that diamond?
Through the chair to Councillor Hunter, no, we do not maintain that diamond. It's owned by the Spencerville Agricultural Society, and
We don't do any.
we don't do any maintenance on it at all.
No.
It's cut, I believe our contractor cuts it. But it's billed separately, it's not billed to us, it's billed through to the agricultural society. I believe Spencerville has, I think they have 2 teams and they play strictly at the back. There are, yeah. And there was no one that asked to use the front end, because other than Thursday night, it's available. We can use it in Spencerville.
Anything else, Councilor?
Just a comment that I received from some of the ones around the village here on the excellent job that are, I believe it's summer students that are doing the water and the flowers here in Spencerville area. So really, the new ones on the pole looks great, the ones along the bridge there, really looks good, we've had some real hot weather here.
Yeah, through the chair, there was a lady that posted some beautiful photos on the weekend, and I shared that to our township Facebook. Lady from Preston, so it's our full time, and our students are maintaining them. So yes, they are looking really nice. The plan is next year we'll add 10 more of the hanging baskets. We started it with 10 this year, and we'll add 10 more next year. And 10 will go up Center Street here.
A lot of good comments, pass it on to the guys, and well, they're being appreciated by the people in Spencerville and some of the tourists coming in the mill. My granddaughter happened to be working at the mill, and when Sunday there was a lot coming to the tea there, and said a lot of the ones who commented on it, mills they were looking at, that they were the mill flowers along the bridge, and the girls were saying, oh, their township looks after them, so.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
I have a couple of comments to Councillor Hunter's comment about the upper ball diamond. We've used it, but we didn't reserve it. So certainly we were the Spencer or the Johnstown diamond was full, so we had to practice that. So there is some other uses maybe that aren't quite recorded. I don't really want to wait until September though to start this compliment. So having had a son who was in the first 2 weeks of camp, compliment the RAC staff and everybody. It's been a crazy busy couple of weeks for all you folks. I realize that right down to having the first swim meet again in 2 years. And I know it wasn't part of your report. Maybe I'm stealing part of your next report, but the pool looked fantastic. It was great to see all those stands full, all those people there. The area is pristine, both in Johnstown and in Cardinal, and when we were back here as well in Spencerville for the ball diamonds, the areas they're looking fantastic, and staff's doing a really good job keeping up on it. So I'm sure the staff is just as tired out as all those kids were last week. So
They were.
yeah, well done, well
Thank
done.
you.
Oh, and one other steal there, and I know it'll be in your next report, but the lane ropes are fantastic. It looks like a professional swimming pool. Now. Yeah,
Absolutely.
awesome.
Is that all, Deputy?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
So just re-echo Councillor Hunter's comments. I sort of had a lot of comments about the flowers on the bridge rails. And that whole effort is certainly well appreciated by not only the residents, but a lot of visitors. So, and I did know that it was our staff that was maintaining it. So pass that on, if you would. Now, I just want to look just quickly at it's page 2 of 4 and page 3 of 4, where we're talking about hours booked at the Cardinal Picnic Pavilion. That's the roof pavilion down at the Cardinal now. And I see there's 20 hours booked there in May and 62 hours booked in June. And so I know that there are some bookings coming in there. I haven't had it this year, but I did have it last year, of a comment about some of these bookings I think are from out of the area groups, if I could put it that way. And locals show up and they don't really want to intrude on that group, but they don't know and have a mechanism to know that out of the area group has reserved the location. So it ends up a little bit awkward for a few minutes until somebody straightens it out. And I guess what I'm wondering is there any way and I don't know whether we have or not, I just haven't seen it, but is there any way there can be some sort of signage posted that says reserved Sunday 2 to 4 for such and such a group?
Through the chair to the mayor. So anyone that rents the pavilion, it's done on our online booking program. And they are advised to print off a copy of that rental agreement that shows that they have that specific spot rented for the day. So that if someone does come up and tries to use it, they have the piece of paper that says between 8 AM and 4 PM, that family is entitled to use the whole pavilion area. So they are all notified of that. The fact if they don't do that, they're definitely advised to print the contract off.
Okay, but, so then, that means that the local, if I can put it that way, or the local group that's coming in, they have to kind of find who that coordinator is before they can ask the coordinator to see it, unless that coordinator has printed it up and posted it someplace. Is there any way that we could put up a kind of a board where the coordinator, once he prints it off, could pin it up on a post someplace for that day? Just to, so that everybody isn't in a few minutes of awkwardness, that's all. And I'll just leave it as a question, because I don't want to make a big issue of it here. It was raised with me several times last year, but not this year.
I will agree though, so, sorry, Mr. Mayor, I will agree with you on your comment about outside residents using it. That's primarily the ones that are looking at online, are the ones that are from outside of our municipality.
Yeah, and it's getting, I mean, I see big groups there
Absolutely.
on some days. So just another question before I yield here, and that's on page 3 or 4 as well, where we're talking about ice rentals. And so I see ice rentals for April, and the ingredient center had 248 hours booked, but were there no rentals at all in May and June at the ingredient center?
Through the chair, no, we took the ice out at the end of April.
At the end of it, oh, it came out at the end of it.
That's correct.
Oh,
There just wasn't enough interest
right.
for May.
You kind of introduced that at the beginning.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, those are my questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Get back to you, Councilor Littlebud. You have anything?
Yes, thank you, through the chair, the facility manager. I see our South Center is really getting booked up. I guess it must be because of the COVID-19 over, and they're having stag windows or whatever. I worked at one.
That's correct.
And, it's a big crowd, so I presume that's where that's going. And our Cardinal picnic pavilion, as we said, it's just moving. It's holy jump. It is. And is that every weekend? From outsiders?
Through the chair to Councilor Hill, I wouldn't say every weekend, but if we go with eight days, Saturday, Sunday a month, there's probably 5 of them that are rented.
No, do we rent it or just reserve?
Reserve.
Yeah, we don't charge money.
No.
So that's working good, and outsiders get to see our area and so on and so forth, so. And the flowers, I was asked to pass it on here in Spencerville, great. The water there, and of course Cardinal. And for our ball, you're saying we had nothing in Cardinal. I am working with people in Cardinal too, and actually over in Spencerville. We may even see a little week get together, Cardinal Spencerville next year, so we're hoping. But volunteers are half in place.
The minor ball is done though, it ended this weekend.
Yeah, but I'm saying next year.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I think it's just definitely some interested in excellent program and how to play and have 16 new families from, not even from this area. So I talked to people in Cardinal, they're gonna try to do something like that next year. Hopefully we'll be offering back to the old days.
Anything else?
No, well done.
Councilor Hunter, you wanted back in.
I just missed one question I meant to ask you to our recreation. Have all our free swimming lessons, have they all been used up for people that they're all booked up?
Through the chair to Councilor Hunter, yes, they are all have been used up.
We're pretty well, all our swimming lessons are pretty well booked full for the.
They are, it's pretty solid.
Okay. And one other question I forgot, we were looking at hiring a recreation director. Have we hired one?
No, we have not yet.
Not yet. That was,
I believe the posting is not going to be going at the first week of August. We'll start.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I just have a couple of quick ones under the township chambers, and you have so many hours down. Now, I'd just like to know, is that when we have council meetings, committee meetings, is that included in those numbers?
That is correct.
Okay. And I believe I have picked up the answer to this next question just with the discussion around the table. But on the ball diamonds, when you refer to U7, U9, and so on, is that U7 and under 9 or?
That is
Okay.
correct, sir.
I did pick up on that. Thank you.
It's all changed. It's changed. It used to be different. Like Mike and
Right.
Huey and Adam, and so
So
hockey changed and a lot of the other sports followed their lead. Went with the youth program as well.
so sensible.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Spencer, if you'd just also issue my congratulations to staff on the great job they're doing on the flowers in Cardinal as well, and the maintenance of the waterfront park and the park across from the Legion, just going down the hill. It is looking fantastic this year, and so are the hanging baskets.
I'll pass them on. So
As well. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move on now. If there's no other questions, I see none. So we're going to move on now to 7D, and that is the second quarter operations report. And Mr. Shaw, if you would highlight your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for the loose and hard top maintenance, the gravel maintenance program is complete. The new John Street surface repair project partner with Greenon is also completed. Capital projects, County Road 2, we had the 60% progress meeting within Jewel Engineering and United Counties and staff. And on the 12th, just passed, meeting with stakeholders to mark borehole locations for the geotechnical survey. Spencerville drainage project started June 4th. I believe they have the whole area stripped by now and started working on some of the pipe work. Start today. Johnstown drainage, the draft ECA was reviewed by staff and Muir Galloway and was sent back to the MCP waiting for the final. The project expected to start in 3 to 4 weeks, and a letter to affected residents will be delivered 2 weeks prior to the start of construction. Miscellaneous street parking lot sweeping complete in the township. Roadside spraying for noxious weeds in partnership with the counties completed. We've had 104 service requests and 27 work orders completed in the quarter. 3 staff completed the TJ Mahoney construction section. First pass of roadside mowing is complete. 11 entranceway culverts have been installed in the quarter. 2 customs, which would typically just mean a longer type culvert with a coupler. 2021 data call has been submitted. And staff are working on the brushing on Pans Road and signing speed bumps were ordered, but as I mentioned earlier, the final 2 signs have come in, so we'll be looking to finish off that work in there. Waste disposal, 608 vehicles over 13 Saturdays in the quarter. The punch card total sales were $5,951. Free spring leaf and brush pickup disposal in May. And staff has started working developing the new transfer site as time permits, widening the road, etc. For my environmental services, second quarter water treatment flows, they're about on par from last year. Operational parameters are all within compliance. Water treatment, microbial, and the industrial part microbial are all 0 for coliform and E. coli. Second quarter for industrial part continued, quarterly residuals are all pressure is all within compliance. One more point pumping station, they had their first quarter, or sorry, first half of the year shutdown of the ethanol plant in April. The work's continuing there. They've completed the upgrades for the electric transformers on the pole. And staff are looking to meet this week later on to discuss some more work in the wet well itself. So WSP will be coming with the successful proponent for the upgrade work, and they're going to go over what needs to be done in the wet well. Second quarter reports for lagoons flows slightly up from last year. Same with the wastewater treatment plant. The BOD, suspended solids and parameters are all within spec, and removals were well over 90% in all cases. Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I'll start with Councillor Dillabaugh. Do you have any questions for Mr. Shaw?
Yes, first of all, New Street and John Street surface, it's completed. As it says here, how'd that go? With the cement?
It went very well. I mean, it's definitely going to be a sound base, or shouldn't end up with the same problem that it had originally.
And I see that we did almost 50% of our roads that are ungraveled, 31 kilometers. We have
Yes.
67.
Yes,
Do we usually get that much?
through the cherry, yes, typically we shoot for half, yeah,
Oh, okay, we do, eh?
yes.
Okay, I must have slipped that on me. And the work on Rush and Hands Road, is that going to be, is it done now completely on both sides or no?
Sorry, which,
The Hands Road, the Rush.
I believe they just completed it today, actually. Finished it up right down to the railroad bed.
And 59.95 or 59.51 for total sales of that quarter. Is that up or down from last year? Can
Yeah.
you
Would be up from last year.
quite a lot or?
I couldn't tell you exact number, but I suspect over 500 to maybe $1,000.
Is that right through the,
I haven't looked at that number specifically, but we are seeing higher revenues in both the curbside collection, bag sales, as well as punch cards.
thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
No, I'm gonna pass for now,
Okay.
other than to note that I reviewed these charts and glad to see that we're all within the acceptable parameters.
Deputy Mayor. Councillor Hunter.
Just regarding the work being done here in wastewater in Spencerville. I've had a couple of good comments on the contractor, how well they're trying to maintain the road, keep it gravel, keep it down in between their working. Only one complaint I had was from one resident that wanted to agreed to put some fill into the back end of some property owned, and they wanted to go down Cedar Street, but there's a house trailer parked on the right away on Cedar Street going down. He wouldn't move it for him. He told him, well, you just went another way, you didn't know the fill, so. Some people have the right to park their coach trailers on the right away, so. Not open, but still. Should be sitting on the right away.
So what's the resolution of that?
I know we brought the bylaw, but I know trailer's still sitting there. So.
I wasn't aware, but I was showing through the chair of a house trailer there. I've seen like a working trailer, but typically the contract administrator would say something to me about it. He hasn't mentioned it yet.
You know, he just
I can
told me
speak
it
to
was a trailer. I assumed it was a house trailer, maybe it's a work trailer. He wouldn't move it from anyway, so we didn't win that way to the back end of his property, so.
So through the chair, I haven't heard any complaints from residents, just if they would call me. I can see what I can do.
Just brought it up to me Sunday. Bring it in a different way.
So they did bring it in and dump it.
Well, they brought it in. I'm gonna go down, sit in the other way, it's a long way around. Gotta move it. Just didn't figure he should have to go to that work. Shouldn't be blocked, so.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
But the main issue is not how we got it there. The main issue is that we have a trailer, camper trailer or otherwise parked on a road allowance. And whoever owns that trailer is refusing to move it when asked. That's the issue. So I don't know, through the chair, I mean, Mr. Shaw and acting CAO is here, so I think they've heard the discussion. Maybe they'll follow up with Councilor Hunt.
We know where it matters that much now, because they already. We didn't have, it was just about.
No, the trailer is on open road.
Mr. Packwood,
No questions at this time.
no questions? Okay, Mr. Shaw, I just want to bring up an issue regarding New and John Street. Where the concrete ends and the street continues. It's extremely rough through there. I'm just hoping that we can get some gravel or something in there to fill some of the holes, because it seems when the job was completed, that was not looked after. And it is quite rough.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, I'm not following exactly what you're meaning. You mean just before the new pavement is
When
down?
you turn on to New Street,
Okay.
go south on New Street,
Mhm.
the pavement comes right across the road. Well, there's where the concrete ends and New Street continues, whatever that material is, asphalt or whatever it is then all, I assume, broken away from when the concrete was laid and the dig out for the concrete was done.
Okay.
It is quite rough through there.
Okay. So you're talking about where it transitions from the new patch to the old street?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about. So if you could possibly just have a look at that. Other than that, the job looks pretty good.
Through
Go
the
ahead,
chair,
Chris.
what I don't understand, so we're being told that the job is complete. But it isn't complete if the transition is not properly completed. So, so how do we address that? I mean, it shouldn't come back to us. This was left in the hands of a contractor, and I think if I recall correctly, Ingredient was lead, were they not? Okay, so we were there. I mean, we have representatives on the scene. Why would we not attend to that at the time before saying, well, the job's complete? I mean, because it happens to be New Street and it's not their property, it's still part of the job.
Through the chair, I guess, like, even where Pro saying the work was completed, I don't know if there was some follow-up that needs to be done to address it.
But do we not have people on the job?
Through the chair, not through the whole process.
No, but you would expect that we'd be there towards the end stages, in the middle and the beginning.
Through the chair, there was the new public works manager did go through there on various days.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much.
Okay, I see no other questions or concerns. That was an information item, thank you. And that will move us on now to the next report, which is 7E, and that is the drinking water quality management system. And Mr. Shaw, would you highlight this for us as well?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. This is a report for the drinking water quality management system, third-party audit report. So to maintain accreditation, there's a 3-year cycle. This was year 2 of the 3-year cycle, and this was done on by phone or distance. Systems functioning effectively. No areas of non-conformance were observed, and 4 opportunities for improvement were noted for consideration. Report was attached for your review, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. I'll just look for a show of hands. I see Mr. Mayor, you want in?
Please.
Go ahead.
So I'm on page 28 of 38. where the auditor is talking about opportunities for improvements. Now, the OP is the operational plan, is it not?
Right.
So when he's talking about description here, and I see he's used just about the smallest font on the computer, noted that the OP was endorsed by the mayor, the owner, the CAO, and the director of operations, which is, he's calling that the top management, and the QMS rep on September 30th. The DWQMS standard only requires top management and the owner to endorse the OP. Therefore, the management has the option of not requiring the QMS to endorse it. So is he saying that that other signature is not required? Or what's he saying? I mean, it seems kind of picky.
Through the chair, OFIs typically aren't picky. They're just opportunities for improvement because part of the driving behind the QMS is the continuous improvement. So oftentimes these are only opportunities for improvement. They're not anything required to actually act on them. They are just suggestions that they provide and not uncommon things. It's not, if you look farther down on page
Well,
30 of 38, you'll see that each one of the elements, the finding on it is, and kind of a menu in the bottom, they all conform except for the OFIs, which is not a non-conformance, it's just an opportunity for improvement. So that's an individual opinion of that auditor that we could improve the system by these suggestions.
well, so I'm looking at the next opportunities for improvement on the chart here. Organizational structure, roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Somebody might learn how to spell to start with. It's not authorities is incorrectly spelled. Although it was mentioned elsewhere in the OP that the owner is the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal or the council. Does this person not understand that it's the corporation? The owner is the corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal. It should be clearly defined in this section as to who will represent the owner. Is it not clear from the Municipal Act that the mayor acts as the CEO? Does the auditor not understand these things? It appears that the mayor was playing this role when he endorsed the OP in section 3. The mayor does not play. I take offense to that. And does the auditor not, is he not aware of the Municipal Act?
Through the chair, I can't speak for the auditor.
But does staff not point these things out? Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. It's just, these kind of audits really make me wonder.
Okay, I'm seeing no other concerns or questions. Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Shaw. And we'll move on now to 7F. And that does come with a recommendation. And this is the Spencerville Lagoon sluice gate valve replacement. And it's on pages 32 to 34 in your packages. Mr. Shaw, would you highlight the briefing note, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this is to terminate the Spencerville splitter box relining contract and reallocate $23,000 budget towards the Lagoon South Cell sluice gate valve replacement. The splitter box relining project was awarded to Aquadrain in 2020. Contractor was granted an extension in 2010 due to labor shortages, and again in 2021 due to the supply chain issues. Timelines have expired, and the contractor hasn't met his obligations. So the Spencerville splitter rock project should be placed into the 2023 budget for consideration, and just the funds allocated to the sluice box. On the 29th of April, during the spring discharge, operators encountered difficulty shutting the valve. After some effort, they managed to get it to seal. They brought in contractors to get estimates basically on to see how it would cost to have it replaced. On the 24th, they discovered it was leaking when one of the contractors was there to make a site visit. They contacted the health unit, MECP, and collected samples, filed a report. The MECP and the health unit were satisfied with the response to the corrective actions. The lead time's 1 to 2 weeks for drawings. It's 6 to 8 weeks to get the valve fabricated and delivered. So time is kind of the essence, especially considering the supply chain problems that we're encountering now. Financial considerations, five companies were invited to provide quotations to supply and install the valve, and only 2 replied. Select Mechanical was the lowest, at a total of $26,892. Cost to purchase the new gate valve is approximately $22,600. The 22 budget had $23,000 for the splitter box repair project. And the recommendations that committee recommend that council direct staff to terminate the Spencerville splitter box relining contract and reallocate the $23,000 budget toward the Lagoon South sluice gate valve replacement.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Questions or concerns? Councilor Dillon.
Yes, I have a couple there. About our valves, will that, or should we wait until our 2023 budget to change that valve?
Through the chair, it's time sensitive when the valve can be changed. It would have to be during the discharge period or right after, so that the lagoon would be empty.
Okay. Follow-up question on that, through the chair. Can we get Minister of Environment to give us more discharge time instead of just 1 a year, March, April? Why can't we have 2 or 3 if there isn't a big, not today, I know, but I mean, at different time, like June, July, August, even 2 more in October. We don't have to have 1. Why can't we go and ask the Minister of Environment? We want more.
Through the chair, Councilor Dillabaugh, it's based on the flows of the river. So if there's low flows in the river, the Conservation Authority would take issue with it. It has to be when the highest flows are. Typically, that's in that window. And we've had extensions put on because there's ice on the lagoon still, and concerned about damaging the valves or influent pipes and so forth, and cut it very close. And there has been a couple of years we've gone over a week or so, but beyond that window, when the river drops, the flows drop, then it's an issue with the Conservation Authority, with the ministry.
Is there any way we can work with the Seven Nation Conservation and Minister of Environment to have at least 2 a year?
We could definitely try. Once the C of A comes up again, there's a couple other things that need to be straightened out on the location stuff in the original C of A, and it would involve renegotiating C of A, which one they could put different restrictions on and conditions.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, can it wait? Or should it be done now? Should we take the initiative of getting involved with the ministry or with the Seven Nation and the Ministry of Environment?
Through the chair, it also is delicate in the sense that when it freezes over, the influent pipe sticks up in the lagoon. And we need to have that covered with water so that it doesn't freeze solid and the ice level drop or crush the pipe.
But what I'm saying is, can we change it in the summer? That valve?
You would be building up head pressure and the lagoon again. So that window is when we would discharge that cell.
Right.
Or discharge the other cell, or discharge it you could only discharge one cell, and then when the effluent is going to the other one, you can't direct the sewage from the town to a cell and discharge it. It has to be sealed off during the discharge. So you can only do one at a time.
Right.
And we'd have to arrange it so that we could get that cell empty. We could direct all the flow to the other cell and get that one fixed while the level was down.
Right, so is it possible?
it would be tricky. You would end up filling up one side.
I'm just worried that, will it last until 2023? That's all I'm concerned.
I suspect it should last till then. The only time those valves are used is in the
It's when
discharge.
you're open.
Yeah, in the discharge, that's it.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, first of all, the intent of this recommendation is to get the engineering all done now and have the necessary parts on hand so that when the discharge takes place next spring, all the pre-work has been done. That's the intent of this resolution. So I'd be happy to move the recommendation at the appropriate time with one change. I would like to see the recommendation when it finally comes to council to say that council directs staff to terminate the Spencerville splitter box relining contract with Aquadrain. I'd like to see that in the resolution and reallocate the $23,000 budget towards the lagoon south cell sluice gate valve replacement. Now, having said that, I'd like to go back to the previous comment. I would not be in favor of seeking a second discharge window because, as we saw from the first discharge window, the amount of testing that's required during the discharge process is quite extensive. I think there's probably well over 50 to 60 samplings that have to be done at various stages, both upstream and downstream and during the discharge itself. And the last thing that we would want would be to discharge into a slow moving river where there was wasn't sufficient flow. I mean, the solution to pollution is not dilution, but at the same time, we are discharging into a river that's moving. And we would like it to be into a fairly large volume of water that we're discharging into. So I would not be in favor of seeking a second window to discharge during a period of time when there's very low flows on the river. And that's, I mean, up until this last few rain events, we're not getting any water at all over the sluice at the mill, and all the rivers are very low right now. So that would not be a good thing. So, Mr. Chairman, when it comes time, I'd be pleased to move this recommendation.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, any
Nothing.
questions, concern? Councillor Hunter?
I don't think there's really in the South Nation, there's an opportunity for any more than one discharge. And as far as C of A, that's when the date runs out on it, but I don't think we want to touch trying to negotiate that until we absolutely have to, but we had a lot of cooperation when we got that done there, that we might not have the same cooperation this time. Not too restrictions on it next time. I'd be happy to second the recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Packwood?
No, it's all been said. Thank you.
Okay, we've all had a chance to go over the briefing note. We do have the recommendation and removal for the recommendation with Mayor Sale and a seconder with Councillor Hunter. I'll call the question. All in favor of the recommendation? Carried. Thank you. And that brings us now to 7G, which is on pages 35 and 36 of the package. There's also a recommendation with this as well, and this is the Armstrong Road resurface remediation. And once again, I believe, Mr. Shaw, you would be good to highlight the briefing note, please.
Mr. Chair, purpose of this is to provide options to council in regard to Armstrong Road surface remediation. The Armstrong Road was surface treated in 2017. The treatment didn't pan out how it was expected. The road has been patched multiple times, both hot mix and cold patch, with limited acceptable results. Residents along the roadway have expressed concerns of the surface condition, and staff are having difficulty maintaining road both winter and summer maintenance operations. The operation or the options provided, number one, pulverize the road surface, return to surface gravel. This is the most economic solution. And the estimates are approximately $11,600 to $17,100 to have that done, plus HST. Cold in place resurface is a finer form of pulverization. Basically, the surface is brought down to a sand-like consistency almost. It's mixed with a, for lack of better words, a glue or a binding agent, and then it's compacted, pressed, it cures, and then there's a surface layer of asphalt put on. Cost is estimated approximately $162,000 plus the cost of asphalt, which has been recently quoted anywhere from $140 to $200 per ton plus HST. The other option is full depth reconstruction, which is the most desirable option, although by far the most expensive. High level estimates about $720,000 to do that for 2.4 kilometers. Mediation of Armstrong Road is not included in the 2022 budgets. Option one is likely the only viable solution that could be completed in 2022. We've received quite a few concerns from residents about the condition of the road and from staff and just trying to keep up with the patching and so forth. The recommendation that committee recommends the council direct staff to undertake option one, pulverize all Armstrong Road surface back to gravel at an upset limit of $17,100 and fund the work through the Public Works Reserve.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Okay, we have the briefing note, we have the recommendation in front of us. Questions, concerns before we get to the recommendation, Councilor Littlebaugh?
Yes, the resurface treatment. Who did this work? Who, like, obviously it was in the budget of 2017, but that's 5 years old. Like, to resurface a road and then have to dig it up 5 years? What went wrong?
I'll direct that question to Mr. Shaw. I myself am not a pavement expert.
Through the chair, I think a lot of it was to do with drainage and with base. I don't know that the base or that geotechnical work was done. I haven't seen the RFQ or the tender for that, but I suspect that the base work and the surface with the type of machinery that goes over it is just not compatible with heavy equipment and so forth. It would be more for lighter traffic roads, typically with just residential traffic, whereas there is a lot of heavy equipment that goes over that.
If I may, through the chair, so if we take option one, is that gonna help improve heavy equipment that's going over on that?
Through the chair, it's not going to help with the heavy equipment, but it will give us means to we'll be able to grade it then rather than just filling with cold patch. And we've done hot patches and cold patch, and in the wintertime plowing, the plow will skip when it gets to a point of that, and then it jumps and hops and makes rippling and not really good plowing conditions. And in the summer, it's just with the breakups, it's constant application of cold patches, the only other means we have at this point.
Mr. Mayor.
Through the chair, Councilor Hunter maybe could shed some light on this. It's really disappointing when we do a surface treatment, it only lasts 5 years. I mean, that was an expensive project, I remember. I don't remember the numbers, but I remember that agonizing time we had to fund it. Now here we are back. It certainly looks like option one is our only option right now. Although, but I don't see an option two when we're talking about the cold place resurfacing. I see a high level cost estimate is approximately $162,000 plus the cost of asphalt, 140 to 200 tons. But how many tons would be required? I mean, I don't have an apples to apples comparison here. And similarly with 3 to 2, I don't have an apples to apples comparison. Although it looks like option 3 is what, $720,000 a kilometer times 2.4 kilometers. No, 2.4 kilometers times 300,000 kilometers. In any case, it looks like we're gonna be stuck with option one, but maybe Councillor Hunter can give us some indications. Why did this go so bad? Or is it just that we're allowing too much heavy traffic on that surface treating? I mean, surface treatment won't stand up to heavy traffic. You've mentioned that several times.
Well, we had super heavy loads being taken over in the spring of the year. That my way of thinking shouldn't have been over it, but they got over it. Both Armstrong Road and Rock Street Road, the street was done at the same time. Rock Street hasn't had those extra heavy loads over it. There's still some cold patching have to be done on it, but not a huge amount. Like, my way of thinking it's 5 years, it's standing its life expectancy. If you talk to Miller Construction, cut this stuff down, they'll tell you 7 years. That's the life expectancy of Service Street Road, 7 years.
7 years.
It's at 5. Mark can testify, it's starting to show breakage now, it's starting to show cracks. 2 years, it'll probably last another 2 years. It'll be in the next council, will be in the same position with it. And something's gonna have to be done to it, because it's gonna start to go. If I started trucking out my laneway and started drawing loads of gravel over it, it'd be gone tomorrow. It wouldn't take roads. The breakage we have had on there now is probably due to the 3 or 4 new houses that were built down the road. Loads of fill and gravel were trucked down over it to build the houses. The base isn't there, neither Rock Street or Armstrong, just sand heavy loads over them, nor the drainage. There's too much wet lays on the road. When the snow melts, it lays on the road. Water lays on it. Anybody that lives on the road can tell you that. So it was great to have it down there for the first few years. Everybody thought it was wonderful. Now we're getting the complaints. It's just constant potholes.
So through the chair, so when you look at, if the cause is, number one, it won't stand up to heavy traffic, number two, the base is not right, and the drainage is not right. If those are the root causes, then to actually do option 2 or option 3 would be a waste of money as well.
Well, option 3 is complete rebuild, doing the base and drainage and everything. That's why
Yeah, it's total reconstruction, full depth reconstruction. Well, does full depth reconstruction always include drainage and road base? It does.
Like I imagine operation manager can shed more light, but I imagine he figured in drainage and layer of 3-inch stone and then 5/8 and 7/8 on it there, and then your pavement on it. That's what most figure reconstruction, if you're doing the road, ditch it, either 2-inch or 3-inch stone on it to harden up the base, and then 7/8 and 5/8 over the top, and then your asphalt.
So who does, on option 1, who does the pulverization? I mean, it's a machine that does it, comes in and grinds it out.
Through the chair, now there's construction companies that offer pulverization. Anybody that does any road work.
So do we go to a tender on that, or do we just hire it done? Or we got 7.4, wait a minute now, it's giving me 2,400 meters, oh, that's 2.4 kilometers, right? 7.5 meters width.
Yes.
So the estimate is between 11,000 and 17,000. Well, it looks, Mr. Chairman, that we don't have an option on, when we get to the point. I don't have a problem moving the recommendation, but it's back to surface, it's back to gravel road, and then you're going to get those complaints again.
Now it's 3 potholes.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I have a couple
Sure.
questions, sure. One just through you to staff. This all came forward, I think, ultimately brought it to a head was an email from a resident, although we know the problems going on. In preparing a recommendation that goes to tearing up the surface treatment, was there any consultation with any of the folks on the roads in bringing that as the recommendation? Did we talk to anybody else on the road as to how they felt about tearing it up and going back to gravel?
Through the chair, no, that hasn't really been discussed. We have more than one complaint coming off the road, but this is just the options we could provide. And that's really the only effective option.
Right.
To get rid of potholes. So with any certainty that we can start plowing or not plowing, but grading it and keeping the roads maintained as we do with our other gravel roads. At least eliminate the problem of potholes.
If I can. I got a couple. So, as far as long-term plan, long-term plan for that road, it's not quite at its life expectancy, but it's pretty close to it. What was or what is the actual long-term plan? Because taking roads backwards to gravel from surface treatment certainly wasn't part of, I think, anyone on council's mandate. I think it was the exact opposite, that we wanted more paved roads, not less. So I struggle with tearing up something that may still have some usefulness left in it, and I haven't heard what the actual plan is other than to tear it up, make it back to gravel. I haven't heard what the future holds for it. So for me, I'd like to know exactly what that is.
With the chair, I can't say where it sits exactly in the road management plan because all are listed in terms of repair. It had been treated at one point, so I think they did was an update in 2020 on the road management plan. Long term, that would basically it would be back in the queue as it would be a gravel road, I guess, and, because of the traffic counts are not extremely high on that road. It would probably be looking at more well-traveled roads in the road management to change the surface treatment or to hard mix surface.
So take it back to gravel, put it back in the queue. This would solve the problem for now, and then down the road for the future. And there's no way that other than cold patching those areas now that we can maintain that surface for 2 more years worth of usefulness or something.
Through the chair, we could do more hot patching, but it all shows up on the road. If you take a ride down there, everywhere you put in a hot patch, and then it's the next 6-8 feet, it's all potholes. You patch that, it'll be 6 or 8 more feet in front, so it's just a continuous erosion of the surface. Very difficult, and then we can't really, other than cold patch, there's no way to remediate the potholes.
My wonder is when it comes to the residents on the road, whether they'd rather deal with some potholes for the next little bit, or whether they'd rather have gravel road again. It's just my. I'd feel a whole lot more secure if I knew all the residents on the road wanted, if they knew that was the only option, going back to gravel versus dealing with a few of the potholes. That would be interesting to see what they do.
Anything else, Deputy Mayor?
No, I think that's all.
Mr. Chair, though, just, in relation to Dr. Mayor's question, number 3 is, it states it. Full depth reconstruction is the most desirable option. Because on full depth reconstruction, you're going to regrind the surface of the road. You're going to take the value out of the gravel that's there. You're going to be able to salvage some of the adhesives that are in the surface treating that'll come back to life. If you do full depth reconstruction with hot mix, you're recycling a lot of the material that's on the road base. When you go with option 1, you're just pulverizing it and laying it back down on the surface. Now, I don't know whether it's too late in the season to get that then covered with some kind of dust suppressant. I mean, we use a lot of dust suppressant, and that will lay it down, and it will serve to a certain extent to harden the surface. But it won't protect the surface from heavy traffic, that's for sure. But I mean, there's no question full depth reconstruction is the most desirable, but it's also the most expensive at $720,000. 720,000 for 2.4 kilometers. And it's not budgeted, so I don't know how you do it. So that's why I think you don't have much choice but to go back and pulverize it again, take it back to gravel. One thing about it, once surface treatment starts to break up and gets beyond a certain point, you cannot salvage it. It's just not salvageable.
duly chair to Mr. Shaw, has our new roads manager have any input in this? Seeing this is
Through the chair to Councillor Dillabaugh, certainly has said a lot of input in some working in his past experience and with some of his connections with other townships and what they've been doing. The Colin Place resurfacing, they just actually did that in South Dundas. The whole of Princeton Road from approximately Stampville to would be
Almost to Dixon's.
almost to Dixon's Corners was all done in that method. And just from some of his other experiences and some of the numbers, for example, the full depth estimate of 300,000 per kilometer. That's a very high level estimate that was supplied by the Galloway Group engineering firm for rural roads. For city roads, it's typically about $1 million a kilometer because you have this curving assignment and so forth.
so duly chair to Mr. Shaw. What would our roads manager take out of the three?
Through the chair, I can't speak for him, he's not here. I would speak on his behalf, but we came to the suggestion between the two of us.
Mr. Chair, the manager of Public Works has signed this, has he not?
Pardon me?
The manager of Public Works has signed this.
Correct.
Yeah, that to me, when I see a signature on a briefing note, that says to me that individual has signed on to what we're reading. That's his, he's agreeing with those options in that manner.
Okay, Mr. Dillabaugh, or I'm sorry, Mr. Packwood hasn't had a chance here. Go ahead, Mr. Packwood.
Pulverizing it right now seems to be the logical thing to do, because there's drainage problems up there. If you do anything else, you still have to go back into drainage. And there's also problems that there isn't enough subgrade, enough granules underneath. So if you do anything else, you're just going to throw money away. So the logical thing is just to pulverize it and then plan on doing some drainage and everything next year before everything else happens.
So you're supporting option one.
Yes, definitely.
And Councillor Hunter, you wanted to.
Well, just comment there, about pulverizing and getting more surface. If you pulverize this isn't going back on the road. They're taking this off the road and the grinding. They're not putting that back on the road.
Through the chair, my understanding was it would go back on the road.
They're going to put it back on the road.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
So you get some adhesive slap. That's the way I read the briefing note too, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Most of the time when they grind the road off, they take it off, and put it back on the road. Generally part of the contract, they salvage that for doing into asphalt.
It's okay if you got an asphalt job going someplace.
No, they just don't.
Oh, yeah, well. Okay.
I just question that, $17,000 to pulverize 2.4 kilometers of road. Not salvaging something out of that.
Well, but when they're laying it back down again, they are salvaging.
We're salvaging, they're not.
Hey,
We're salvaging, they're not.
yeah, we're salvaging it, yeah. But you think that 17,000 is high? They're not
No, I
getting
think
the
it's
product
low. It's not, they're not taking into the
of the product?
product off.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, is that not clarified here in the briefing note? Pulverize the road surface to return the surface to level. It isn't clear in the briefing note that the pulverized material is laid back down. So maybe maybe the staff has one impression as to what's going to happen, and the estimated number assumes that something else is going to happen. I would withdraw my support of option one if I thought that the contractor was going to end up with the material. That's pretty cheap material for a contractor. Counselor or Chair.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, the way it's written, it says pulverized Armstrong Road surface back to gravel.
Hmm.
That's it.
No,
Yeah.
it says to return the surface to gravel.
You're not returning it to gravel if you're putting that ground asphalt over the top.
See, Mr. Chair, if I can make a point here. The point is, if you allow a contractor to come in and pulverize and save the material, he can dig it down 4 inches or he can dig it down 6. If he digs it down 6, he's getting 2 more inches of your base, of your sub base that he takes with him. And that's why I would proceed with option 1 on the assumption that the material is pulverized and laid back in place and then covered over with some sort of an adherent, even calcium chloride at this time of the year, if we could get it, will tend to hold it in place.
Mr. Director, is that, I understand you're of the belief that the pulverized is going to be returned to the road.
That's my understanding. Mr. Chair.
Confirmation on that before this motion gets to, well, don't have it on the floor yet, but confirmation before the recommendation gets to council.
Confirm that.
Yeah.
Is there a time sensitive issue here, Mr. Director?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so this motion will be tabled then until we get confirmation.
Well, I think we should proceed with it. That signals to staff that we're in favor of option 1, but it also, they've heard the discussion. We're in favor of option 1, assuming that the pulverized material is back on the road.
And if we find that it is not going back on the road,
Well, then we don't deal with it at council.
we cross that bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So the recommendation is good as stands then. And I believe you did say you would
I'll
move the motion. And did I have a seconder for the motion? Mr. Packwood, that's fine. Okay, for the recommendation as it stands, and confirmation will be coming forward regarding. Oh, you do? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I missed you.
Just, Councillor Hunter's made reference to Rock Road being in a similar state of repair if it gets a little bit more use. Curious, through the chair to Mr. Shaw, were both those roads done at the same time? And they were, okay, so are there others then that were done at the same time? And is it a product issue?
Through the chair, the best of my understanding, they were both done in 2017, and I'm not aware of another.
Sorry, through the chair, there's several in that. That was the gravel surface program that we did. We did several roads in that 2017 project. I believe there was like 5, Connell, Armstrong,
Rock.
but there was a couple other ones. I think there was like 5 roads.
Well, we did Hurley, Duclo, and Gooden Road as a
That was the
group too,
previous one before that.
and they've stood up well.
They have, I think the Armstrong Road is indicated within some of the conversation. It's really not so much about the material aspect that they put on the road, it's the condition of the road before the material went on. So that it's too wet and the traffic that's on it is not, is damaging the road as well, because the road already is in a compromised position.
So just one more.
Go ahead.
if I might. So just so that I'm clear then, so we're not going to see the same discussion again over the next several months about Rock Road and any of those other 3 roads to remove those as well, or this is confined to Armstrong and for the next couple of years at least.
At least for the next couple of years, because as we know, the surface treat only does last 5 to 7 years. This one's failing earlier just because of the condition of the drainage and the traffic that's on.
Does that answer your question? Okay, as I say, we have a mover and we have a seconder to the motion as it reads. I'm going to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that is carried. Thank you. All right, moving on, and this brings us to, which appears to be our last action item, and that is the Cedar Grove resurface remediation. And there is a recommendation with this as well. And Mr. Chair, would you highlight the briefing note for us, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. So this report is to provide options to council in regard to Cedar Grove surface remediation. Cedar Grove is listed as a high priority road in the road management plan. It has been put on hold, any surface remediation due to the job site challenges, and now any effects on the road may be changed considering the traffic that may have come out of that. Some funding has been investigated, Cedar Grove engineering, design, and legal survey. There's approximately $70,000 carried forward in the 22 budget. And the road surface has deteriorated and requires some work to improve the surface. We've had several concerns of residents in regard to Cedar Grove Road. The road from the boundary to Augusta to County Road 18 was redone several years ago and is in fairly good condition. The road just from the boundary to probably Fraser Road has deteriorated significantly with cracking and ruts from wheels and so forth. There's also 3 options for this road proposed. Add and pave is option 1, and that involves adding a asphalt padding to fill in any divots in the road and irregularities, holes, wheel ruts. Once completed, a 25 millimeter lift of asphalt slide over the padding. Estimated cost for asphalt again is $140 to $200 per ton. $70,000. We can probably get about 500 tons of asphalt. If it's at 140 a ton, it could be applied to form both lifts. This procedure, basically, the first kind of padding is to get the road all to one level. It's usually done at a couple of lifts at a time, and then to determine how much we could use in total, and then a final probably 25 mil coat, top coat at the length of the repair to make the surface smooth. Again, option 2 is cold in place. Again, the pulverized material is mixed with water in the binder. It's put back down, compressed, surface coat of asphalt. The estimated cost of that one is $324,000 plus the cost of the top coat of asphalt. Option 3, again, full reconstruction at $300,000 per kilometer for a total of 4,800 meters is equal to about $1,440,000 plus HSD. Sort of that no vertical or horizontal correction or land acquisition is required. Financial consideration approximately $70,000 carried forward from the 2021 budget for Cedar Grove road improvements. This could be used as an offset limit for surface repairs this year to improve driving conditions. Recommendation is that the committee recommends council direct staff to undertake option 1, add and pave improvements to the surface of Cedar Grove Road starting at the boundary of Augusta Township, heading east towards Fraser Road to an upset limit of $7,000.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. All right. Any questions for Mr. Shaw? And I'll start at Mr. Packwood's end of the table.
No question at this time.
Councilor Hunter.
The whole story. Option 3 is the best thing, but all the big projects we got going on, we haven't got the money to do it. So
Correct.
back to what can you afford? Option 1 is what you can afford. So improve it all for love. I know it's everybody's road in the winter time with cloud and the ice build up in the hollows. up on it. And whenever the guys trying to plow it, so. No choice when you have someone, so.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Question would be, like, durability, like, how long would you expect?
The estimate is probably 4 to 5 years. Given some of the deformities, we'll call it again, is because of
It's
base
in rough
problems.
shape there, I'm sure.
Pardon me?
And does it depend on the traffic too?
Yes, certainly
Yes,
does,
so
but
the transports can go over and it'll break down pretty quick. Will it, like, sorry, through the chair, will that, pad and pave, will it withstand? Like, if there's a 401 closure and transports get on it, will it withstand? It doesn't seem like it's a very thick amount, so.
it will be through the chair, thicker in spots and thinner in, but with old asphalt, because basically if your road is all humps, the first layer of the padding makes it all kind of one level. And then you put a final coat on the length of it to give it a flat, even surface without joints. So you put in a couple of loads, a couple of trucks at a time to do the padding, work it out by loads to make sure you have enough asphalt to put a 25 mil or something on top, give it a final surface coat. So it'll bring it all up, instead of being like dips on the shoulders and so forth, it'll bring it to a level, a flat surface.
So that's your question. Your point.
Through the chair, it's still, those defects are still in the bottom layer, so they will work up over time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, are we gonna end up in an Armstrong Road situation in another year or two after?
Mr. Mayor.
Well, I don't think this road is ready for option 1 or option 2 or option 3. I mean, there's been no work done on ditching. There's been no work, we've done in the last month or so, we've done some work clearing brush back from the side of the road. And that's the beginning. But there's been no work done on ditching, and I don't know that we've done any testing at all on the subsurface to see what we're dealing with on the subsurface. But it's like Councillor Hunter says, the best option is still option 3, full depth reconstruction. But again, the road is not ready for full depth reconstruction, so I guess it really doesn't matter because we don't have the money anyway. So we're back with between a rock and a hard place to option 1. I don't think you have much other choice with this one either. All I know that on option number 2, again, there's no pricing. The estimated cost is $324,000 plus the cost of a top coat of asphalt. Cedar Grove is 4,800 meters in length, 4.8 kilometers, but it doesn't tell us what the cost of a top coat of asphalt would be. So I don't know what I'm looking at for option 2 in terms of numbers, but again, this is a moot point because we don't have the money in it.
Councillor Diddle.
I just have, like, it says, we're gonna start at Augusta Township and head east towards Fraser Road for an upset of 70,000. Like, how far are we gonna get? Not too far.
The chair, it's hard to determine because of the running and so forth, how much the initial padding is going to, it's really hard to tell until, because if you go down Cedar Grove Road, you'll notice that the shoulder, some of them dropped, 6-8 inches. So in order to get everything on a level again, it's very difficult.
And I do know by these prices, 70,000 isn't gonna go a long ways.
Probably not.
I'm just curious how far, when we start this.
So when we reach the $70,000 limit, that's the end.
That's what was suggested.
However, we've got to do something.
Well, the road is going to disappear,
I guess
Next
we don't have to do something.
but I know I've been on that road about 4 times in the last month. No questions. The background is correct. It's a priority road, no question about that.
Okay, we have a recommendation in front of us. I'm going to ask for a mover for the recommendation. Mr. Packwood, thank you, is our mover, and does he have a second? Councillor Hunter, thank you very much. Okay, no further discussion. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? 3, 4 opposed?
Steady.
Okay. Don't have to vote either.
You guys running for mayor, take a stand.
The
Not
The record-
campaigning time.
the recommendation has been carried. Thank you. Okay, that finishes the action information items. That brings us now to item number 8, and that is the council inquiries and or notices of motion. Do we have any tonight?
I just have one,
Go ahead, Councillor.
and our treasurer, I think helped me out, but I'm getting some complaints on our garbage pickup. Not in our area, but outside the area, good smell. And I had some Cardinal, so, it was chair, I think the treasurer kind of hit it off. It's just that we're supposed to call the people who's in charge. And I thought that we should call the township would get in contact with the company. That's not how it works according to the church. Company wants people to call them, so they can get right to the chase, but I thought we could go through staff, and then staff could find out where the truck is, if something happened, broke down, or they missed it. I'm just getting a lot of complaints if they're missing pickup. Now, I think this particular one, I think they took the garbage back in too early because of this. So, just a concern. I wonder, the treasurer, can you just give me a little follow-up?
Certainly, yeah. Councilor Dill wanted to speak to me today, so I reached out to the company to confirm they're within the contract. They do ask that residents contact that 800 line to speak to the contractor themselves. They speak to the dispatcher. The dispatcher then sees where the truck is because they have the GPS coordinates of the truck, and they can also reach out to the truck if there is an issue, and the truck and the driver can be rerouted to do. So it stops that time delay where the resident reaches to us and then we reach out to the contractor, and then there's a time delay. Whereas if they reach right out to HTC, they can speak right to the truck driver, get him rerouted, and it's a better, more efficient way for that communication to happen. What we are experiencing right now is that the previous driver that started on the route has quit, and they had to rehire a truck driver, and he is in training. So there is still a little bit of a learning curve in terms of knowing the roads and knowing the routes. And unfortunately, the pandemic is hitting all organizations, and sickness helps, does not help the situation when a person gets ill, then they've got another driver on the road and such. So we're a bit of a victim of that situation.
So I just have a follow-up question to Councilor Dillaba's question, and that is then, so do our ratepayers have the phone number for the company? Is it on the sheet that is sent out, the schedule sheet? Is it on that?
Yes, it's usually on, they provided that sheet of
Yes,
the
I got
collection
that.
days, and then
Yes.
contact information should be there. But I think it's also been, from what I understand, social media, we put it lots of posts to remind people of putting it out before 7, putting it in proper containers, and if you have an issue, please call this number. So it is being communicated to residents.
Okay, Councilor Dillaba, just to, does that answer your?
Oh, yeah, very good. That's why I wanted to afford, so we can we're on the same page on that.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, you want it?
Well, I'm not on that page. Until about 30 seconds ago, I thought that the proper line of communication was to the CAO. And then he would deal with it. Now, I understand what the treasurer is telling us, and I didn't realize that the contract was written that way. I catch most things, but I'm sure as hell missed that. But if that's the case, if they want the if the contractor wants the resident calling them, I don't know of any communication. I wouldn't know. Personally, I wouldn't know what number to call myself. I get a number of these complaints each week just from the route that I'm on. So if that's what's going to happen, I'd appreciate staff sending me the name and the phone numbers of the place where I can tell people to call. And I have not seen anything circulated to the residents. I mean, I'm one of the residents. I don't recall seeing anything that tells me
Did
what
you
to
not
do.
get your daily, the schedule of what days they come to your?
Yeah, it's the same as the schedule before.
And it should have the phone. I just asked the question. And the treasurer indicated.
There must be two sides of that sheet, because I post the side that tells what day he's coming. Is it on the back of that sheet?
I haven't seen the sheet specific, but from my understanding, it was reported on that sheet, but we're also providing it to our website and social media.
Yeah, well, website and social media, they don't check that, they phone us.
And when any resident does call the township office, that number is provided to them, so that in the future, they make sure they call straight direct through to the company.
But excuse me, but I just have another question that I'd like to ask them, because there's a lot of cases in the township where people put their garbage out on the day they're supposed to. At the present time, I'm assuming, and then they go off to work, and then they come home, and they find that either the truck has missed them, the garbage hasn't been picked up. So here's a day that goes by without being, without the company knowing it, unless a neighbor or somebody else calls. So I have my reservations about that system. Anyway.
I don't think the system would be much different if they were gone to work, they
Or-
couldn't call
or-
the township
or-
office either.
Or whether they're at home, that's correct, so, yeah. Okay. Councillor Hunter, did you want to?
I think one of the things that I noticed, I haven't even from our building, but picking up the garbage, but I know that the other contractor we had, they never changed the per year.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't come to our place never before 11 o'clock, so if you put it out at 10, your garbage was going at 11. Now, depending on how their load is, and where they go, and I know this is an issue along our Mayor's Road and number 2, because sometimes they pick up the one side of the road first, and sometimes they pick up the other side of the road first, depending on how their truck's loaded, what they're going. And they're out there, kind of laughed. Someone were calling, complaining, well, they didn't pick my garbage out. And he said, well, the truck went by at 7:15. The garbage was supposed to be out at 7. They picked mine up at 8 when they come back down the other side. My garbage was out at 7. They said, well, they always come down that way and then come up with well. He said, things I have the garbage out at 7. He said, I watched them go by and you got your garbage out at 8 o'clock. He was coming down the other side of the road then. So.
And I have the exact opposite problem where I was always picked up just shortly after 7 o'clock. And now, gosh, it's sometimes 10 o'clock before they get to our area. But anyway, we'll have to see how it works out. And I do imagine that you're correct about the new driver, that it's going to be a learning curve. Thank you, Councillor, for that. Any other notices of motion? Hearing none, we're going to move on. Thank you. And that brings us to item number 9, which is the mayor's report.
No, I don't have much to report today, Mr. Chairman.
Was that the
That was
affirmative?
extended.
That was the extent of it. Okay, thank you. And that brings us now to question period. So in the gallery, do we have any questions regarding the agenda that was presented tonight? Monsieur, Madame?
I was listening to Mr. Shaw about the gravel situation, I guess, where you want to bring back the road to gravel, whatever road it was.
Yes.
Up in Fremont, about 15 years ago, they is that they removed the pavement completely. This is about 30 kilometers long at least. They leveled it with grader, all the gravel. They sprayed something on the gravel. And they added gravel on it, and that stuff is so hard that it's a solidified gravel. And it's still there today, traffic still go by today, it doesn't come off, doesn't do anything, I don't know if you, if stuff like that could be used. It was cheap done, I know that. If they didn't want to repave that road, that's for sure. Well, what, the product that you use on the gravel, everything came hard like rock. The gravel was hard like rock, and it's still there today.
Thank you. Are you, Mr. Shaw, are you aware of that
Yes.
treatment?
Through the chair, that sounds like almost like surface treatment. It could be that they applied calcium. Was it a dark layer or was it a clear layer? Material to put on.
I can't, they sprayed it on top of the ground.
That sounds more calcium, but they could do that with a surface treatment of asphalt. The surface treatment, they'll spray an asphalt layer, they put stone dust on top of it, another layer of asphalt, and then some more stone dust.
It looked like jets of tar.
Yeah, it's surface treatment.
Yeah.
That was
It's really nice.
30 years ago, that's what it would have been.
Yep,
It gets harder as you drive along.
It did stand out. Keep it sealed.
and Mr. Chairman, it shouldn't go unnoticed. I mean, surface treatment does work in some applications. Gooden, Hurley Duplo were done in the 2007, and they were redone again once during the last, I don't know how long ago.
Right after I got there,
2010.
15, I think.
Yeah, so they, and they're still standing up relatively well.
That's every 7 years though.
Well, no, but the second
Time you do it.
lift was not a full surface treatment. It was just a sort of a top dressing on what was already there. And it binds it together for a good length of time. So, I mean, a lot of it has to do, and you gotta remember that Councilor Hunter said right at the beginning that a lot of the fault at Armstrong was heavy industrial, it was heavy agricultural equipment that was traversing that road. And it was heavy and it was continuous for quite a long period of time. And that farm machinery was bouncing, and that would tear a road right apart. And I don't know that we had any mechanism to stop it, except that I do know that at certain times of the year, we have half load restrictions in effect. But to the extent that we enforce them, I don't know.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have no closed session tonight. That was done at our 5 o'clock meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Packwood, do I have a second? Want to stay here all night, do we?
No, second.
We have a seconder with Councilor Dillabaugh. Thank you. All in favor?
All right.
And we are adjourned at 8:23 PM.